All right, good morning. Welcome to Inside Pages on Metro Television. My name is Aldo Moro. It's a pleasure coming your way. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. Here on Inside Pages, we choose the most topical issue in the newspapers, and then we bring you perspectives that you would appreciate and admire. We invite the relevant guests and ask them the relevant questions on your behalf. And that's what happens here on Inside Pages. Now, today, we're going to be looking at that unfortunate but also dramatic and interesting turn of events this week when Ghanaian protesters who want to simply protest at the Jubilee House against what they describe as the mismanagement of Ghana's economy and also to put an end to the worsening corruption situation in the country, but they were met with brute force. The police had arrested, according to the police statement, about 49 of them. They were detained and they were later released in the day. And the police's reason for arresting them is because they said they have served them with court processes to basically get them to suspend the protest. And so they arrested them for unlawful assembly. And so that's what happened in the course of the week. But of course, the protesters defy the odds and the following day assembled again at the 37 Lorry Park, and then proceeded with their protest. Yes, they didn't get to the Jubilee House because the police have stopped them, wouldn't allow them to do that. But they're saying it's a 3-day protest. So as we speak this morning, the protest is supposed to continue. But there are some lingering issues that have come up, and it keeps coming up from time to time, especially when it has to do with the Public Order Act and how it is prosecuted or how it is executed. That's the elephant in the room, because that is what has given rise to all sorts of things that happened. Look at how some of the protesters were molested, and also even the way the court processes were served, that's if indeed they were served, to the lawyers of the protester, that's the Atogoba and Associates, and so on and so forth. So these are issues that have come up, and we have to look at them once again. What does the law say about the freedom to express oneself by going on a protest, and what are some of the processes that one has to satisfy in order to do that, especially looking at or considering the fact that this is a constitutionally guaranteed right. So we'll look into that subject matter on Inside Pages this morning. But also on Inside Pages, and we're hoping that we'll have some more time to look at this, because there's another matter which has come up. The special prosecutor has made some very fresh, startling, but also very damning allegations against the former sanitation minister, that's Cecilia Abena Dapa. Now, this is the latest in the special prosecutor's attempt to confirm the seizure and also freeze the bank accounts of what he calls tainted property of Madame Dapa, and to get the courts to confirm it. Remember that the special prosecutor had done that in the past, but did not succeed. The Accra High Court refused to grant it the permission to confirm or to seize these property and also to freeze their accounts, which was almost over 40 million Ghana cedis or so. So the special prosecutor is back in court, and we have some court documents to tell you what the special prosecutor is back in court with, and some of the allegations or some of the fresh allegations that it has come up with. And so we'll look at all of that on Inside Pages. We're hoping that we'll have some time to look at this. So on Inside Pages this morning, we have a lawyer, we have a member of the New Patriotic Party, we have a member of the NDC, and then we have a security analyst who will be joining us. So stay tuned in. I'll be sharing the WhatsApp line with you for those of you who would want to contribute to the program. We're more than happy to hear from you, because your thoughts shape and improve the program. My name once again is Aldo Moro. Thanks for tuning in to Inside Pages. I will be right back.
It's just fair and proper that the Ghana Police Service will look up to the fact that citizens have a right to demonstrate and allow them to demonstrate. The Public Order Act says that we should notify you. If we have notified you and you have a reason not to come, you have decided that you will not perform your part of the bargain. It didn't say that if the police is not able to come, citizens cannot demonstrate.
The politicians do this deliberately. They send the security agencies to come after us because they know the effect of we coming together as one people and demanding for what we deserve. It is getting too much, and there is time that we say enough is enough. Akufo-Addo said to us, I know not to thank Akufo-Addo. I am going to make sure that when I become president of this republic, I shall move this country from taxation to nationalization. True or not? Today, this country is like taxation to taxation to taxation.
So a woman spoke to me about her son, who is a protester. No, wasn't a protester. He was playing basketball. So you see, around this church was Christ the King. There's a basketball area there. So the boy was supposed to play basketball. So, and the police in their swoop, as they do with the other crime events, swoop and just carried him along. So he's been here waiting to hear from her son. And she spoke to me. So I get to the gate and I tell the policeman to go in there. And he tells me there's nobody. I said, but you've just taken people in there. You have just taken people in there. So whilst we were standing outside waiting, he says he would not allow us in. At the time, Vanessa was inside and I was scared for Vanessa because we had sent her out and the police have guns. They are being hostile to anybody who is in there. So while I was waiting, the police charged us at. We didn't provoke them, nothing. We're just standing. He charged, opened the gates and charged and picked as many people as they could grab. I want to believe that it's because maybe I'm a woman. That's why they didn't grab me. I had a phone of a gentleman who is still inside. Please give me the phone. I don't know the person's name. He's called George. They said the guy is called George. I was holding his phone while I was talking to him because he was also asking me a question. And they pulled the guy away. He did nothing.
They pulled him even though he's done nothing.
Pulled him. And the policeman, trying to grab him and me, ripped my shirt. Ripped my shirt. So I am standing here half naked. I thank whoever, I don't know who gave me this, but somebody gave me this so I could wrap around my middle because, I am not comfortable. They have stolen other people's phone, police officers. They have stolen, they didn't even take the phone, they stole it from people who are not agitating. So they are in there, wait after 5 minutes, we're just standing outside in front of the police station so that we can bail. I even thought I could act as a surety for people so I could bail people because they haven't committed a crime. Now one has stolen money and he's walking free. They just came out in red and black. So if we can even stand and bail people, bail them. That is all we did. Then they charge us and take people in. There's a guy who will come out and say, 1, 2, 3, pick them, take them inside. 1, 2, that is all they do. Not that people are fighting police.
Hashtag Occupy the Jolobi House. It is raining heavily, but the protesters are unwilling to move. You can see they are in the rain singing. They do not want to disperse, and that is the spirit they are coming with. They say whether rain or shine, they are not moving until the president hear them. And the police are also still maintaining their post. They have also set up a barricade blocking them from going to the Jubilee House. And Oliver, it's raining, but the protesters are still in the rain. You are here. Why?
One of the things we don't have is resources. But the one thing nobody can take away from us is our heart and our resolve and our commitment to courage. This is what you are seeing. Young people are speaking loud and clear to our democracy. Young people are demanding substantive improvements in our democracy. The rain is not going to stop us. We see this only as showers of blessings that endorse our message. That the heavens have opened up and are telling us that they are endorsing what we are doing. This is what democracy looks like. This is the beauty of what we fought for. The fact that some people are jeopardizing this democracy and we're refusing to speak up, that is what we are afraid of. So we're continuing to be here, rain or shine. This is the purchase of a democracy. That's why we are here.
What action are you expecting now to move?
This is the whole action. The essence of mobilization is to get young people together to demand better for themselves. We are doing that now. We are not expecting any more than what we are doing. So we are inviting anybody who is home. Let nothing stop you. Join your friends and make history together.
Are you looking forward to going to the Jubilee House?
As long as the police are here, we are blocked. But our end point is Jolobi House, and that's where we want to go.
So if you don't get to the Jubilee House,
we'll stay here.
So if you don't get to the Jubilee House,
we'll stay here.
You've heard from Oliver Bakafomao. He is the lead convener of hashtag Occupy.
And that's a reporter, hardworking reporter, Vanessa Boateng, interacting with the leader of the group called the Democracy Hub. That's Oliver Bakafomao, who say that they are determined to press home their demand for good governance, i.e., the mismanagement of Ghana's economy and also the stoppage of corruption. They want to bring corruption to an end. They want to get our leaders to stop being corrupt. Now, as I did indicate in the beginning of the program, the protest was supposed to have started 2 days ago, but once they gathered, they assembled at the 37 lorry station, they were arrested and they were detained and later they were released. And the police say they arrested them because they had flagrantly disregarded the Public Order Act. And also they had disregarded a court processes that had been served. The police had gone to file an application to injunct the demonstration from coming on, and that's why they arrested them. Now, there have been all kinds of debate as to whether what the police did was right and whether it was proper or not. But I've heard most lawyers say what they did was unlawful, it was unconstitutional. And so we have a lawyer here to throw some more light on that. So, but the end game is, like I said, in fact, the destination was the Jubilee House. What they choose to call it, the Julobi House. But the end destination was there. Well, the destination was there, but they couldn't go there because you can tell, he says, look, we've been blocked. We've been stopped from going to the Jubilee House. And so all we can do is to sit there and protest. And you can see yesterday it was raining cats and dogs, but they decided to continue with the protest. Now, we'll be speaking to, as many persons as possible to pick their thoughts on this. So we have an MPP member who's with us here. That's Mr. Mr. Kwabena Sapon, who is a member of the New Patriotic Party, as a ruling party. He's here with us. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us. And also we have, we'll be joined shortly by Professor Michael Kpesa-White, who is a senior lecturer at University of Ghana, Legon, but also a member of the NDC. He'll be joining us shortly. But we also do have Randolph Chumesiankra, who is a private legal practitioner. He's been following this issue, so join us here on Inside Page. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us. And also, we'll be joined by Colonel Festus Abuaji. I'm told he's already on Zoom to pick his thoughts on what has happened today, whether there are any security implications for what is happening, and what are some of the things that the national security should be careful about, or the state security apparatus should be careful about with what has happened. And of course, his general thoughts about the protest and how it's been handled by the police and so on and so forth. He'll be joining us on that. The second topic we're going to be looking at is that the special prosecutor has also made some fresh, startling, but also very damning allegations against the former Minister for Sanitation, Madam Cecilia Abunadapa. And the special prosecutor is trying to get the courts to confirm the seized property or confirm the seized property of Madam Cecilia Abunadapa, which suspects to be tainted. And so the special prosecutor says, well, I have fresh allegations. When I came to you the first time, you didn't allow me to confirm it, but now I have some fresh allegations. I'm going to come to you with the allegations that I have, or the fresh set of facts that I have, to get the courts to confirm the properties which I intend to seize and also to confiscate. In fact, the properties have been seized and also the bank accounts that have been frozen. So let me quickly go to Colonel Festus Abuaji. He's been on the Zoom for a while now, and let me just pick his thoughts quickly and then come back in-house. Colonel Festus Abuaji, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
All right, so maybe what I'll do is to pick your general thoughts about how the group has gone about the protest. First of all, the philosophy driving the protest, and also how our security or the state security agencies have handled this matter. Generally, what are your thoughts?
Well, based on what I've seen on media platforms and a bit of the social media, I see a bit of trying to stretch the law or manipulate the law in order to violate the constitutional rights of Ghanaians. On the basis of what some legal experts have explained, that the police has no legal right to enforce an application that they have made to the courts. And increasingly, including this morning, it does appear that those legal interpretations are right, that the police had applied, but the court had not issued an order. Then there's a question of the service of the application. That was served to some lawyers. And the legal experts are trying to say that there are some technicalities there. But be that as it may, even if you had served, that is, the police has served the application for the injunction or the order on the protesters, the service of the application in itself is not an order that the police can enforce. And the whole idea also, the timing of the application, a day to the protest. So this is what I see as one of them referring to as mafia tactics, to subvert the constitution that we have all subscribed to. Look, if the protesters had been allowed to protest and march with their placards to the Flagstaff House, and by that I mean to whatever distance within the vicinity of the house. Let's assume that the vice president, who is now, in the seat because the president is outside, had come out to receive whatever statement they had. Or for that matter, any official within the Flagstaff House had come out to take the petition. That would have been the end of the story. Given what we have seen, the so-called national security has been, worsened as a result of the approach that the police used. In situations of this nature, based on my training at the military academy, when the military plays the role of the police, you arrest the organizers, the leaders. You don't bundle 49, and this morning there has been a correction that actually 56 individuals were arrested. That is not what the teaching is. You see, my increasing concern is that this noise that we make, that we're a democratic state, we are based, our rule is based on the rule of law. But in practice, you don't see the rule of law, being applied. What are you going to do with 56 individuals, armed only with their cell phones, with their placards and megaphone? None of them was armed. And per what I have understood, they had gone in accordance with this Act 491, the Public Order Act, whichever section deals with the procedures. So what I see is that the police is finding it very, very difficult to divorce themselves from that NDC law, whichever law, that said that the police must grant permit for demonstrations to take place. The revised one says that no, you inform the police in accordance with A, B, C, D. The police are finding it very difficult to, come to terms with this new provision. So we must be careful. You see, this thing we call the political space, which I've explained is not the geographical space, it's not the physical space. The space that we have, the political space, is the accumulation or cumulatives of all the laws that we have that provide for human rights, or provide for civil rights, or provide for political rights. When you start encroaching on that territory, that domain, and you start closing the gap, then people have no alternative than to resort to violence, and violence from grade A to grade C. The police action was not warranted. And now we're beginning to hear that the IGP had to come in and at this instance, order that they should be released. This is not how the system should work. All these police officers have been trained. Even if they are constables, they had been deployed under leaders, probably superintendents, probably ACPs, probably a commissioner of police. So we must all try to act in accordance with the law. We must not try to please anybody, because in pleasing somebody, you are actually injuring the foundations of our democracy. And that's my concern. You see, all this could have been avoided. Before we even go into the historical context, that we've seen all of this before. So if during one tenure, those who are in government now, when they were in opposition years ago, they had the right to demonstrate. And more recently, some demonstrations like this had taken place, and the demonstrators had been kept at arm's length at Afrikiko. And then the leaders, the organizers, had been asked to come out and then go to whichever part of the Jubilee House to present their petition. That's what we use best practices for. We cannot be taking, one step forward and then two steps back. I'm beginning to think that civil society, if they have not been doing that, must begin to identify some of these, police officers who, because look, an unlawful order is not an order. That was drummed into our heads when we were at the military academy. So the fact that a superior officer or senior officer says you must go and do A, B, C, D, if you have reason to think that that law or that order or that command is unlawful, you have the right to refuse. In any case, how you execute it, the civil part of it, inviting the people to join a bus, not pushing them in and so on and so forth. No, they were not resistant, assuming. You see it. And the idea of distributing them among, 8 or so police stations. I mean, these are all mafia tactics. They happen only in autocracies or dictatorships, not in what you and I say we are a democracy. Lawyers came, wanted access to their clients who were the protesters, and they were denied. It had to take the instance of the IGP, that they should be granted access and then they should be released. That's not how the system should work. So in my view, when we say we're a democracy, I contest that. The best description we can give is that we are a flawed democracy. Because look, at the time that this was happening, a day prior, some Ghanaians or whoever had demonstrated in New York or wherever the president was. And the Metropolitan Police in that jurisdiction allowed them to carry on with their demonstration. That is what rule of law is. That is what democracy is. So the president cannot be in a place outside of his jurisdiction. And that jurisdiction, which is a democracy, allows people to demonstrate, to express themselves. And then we come back here, home. And our police say, no, you can't do that. And they try to put all manner of stumbling blocks in your way. If you want this democracy to be consolidated, my humble suggestion is that we must allow the law to work the way it is intended to work. And that is also a responsibility for the judiciary. You see what I mean? Because increasingly what I'm beginning to see, or what I've been seeing, is what we call constitutional tyranny, where you hide behind the laws and pretend as if you are using the law, applying the law, but then you are using it indiscriminately, and then you are using it punitively. For instance, it's one too many. If the minority wants to go and demonstrate wherever they want to go, and the judiciary finds a way of not making themselves available until such time that, a process that they wanted to injunct has started, and the court says, or the bailiff says that your case will be heard on so and so date, about 2 weeks after the event had even, terminated. And what event are we talking about here? You see, the kind of democracy that we say we have subscribed to insists that the only pathway to power must be through elections. So elections are not the day on which we go to cast our ballots. Elections include procedures and processes around voter registration and voter whatever it is. So if a party has grievances, against how that process is going to be run, and you try to use the law to gag them, to stop them, from the court from hearing what it is that they have, you're undermining democracy. Because then there's no alternative for them. Parliament cannot help them. The judiciary cannot help them. Certainly the executive, which is opposed to them, cannot help them. What other avenues do they have? When the police then gets up and says, oh, there is so much insecurity in the region, I challenge every one of us to do an analysis of what caused those instabilities. The very things that we are doing now are some of the things. In Professor Alpha Conde's Guinea, he used brute force to put through some constitutional change and put it through referendum. He killed people, ordered the army to kill, put others in prison, others had to flee. Then the coup happened. Is that what we want? So there's a better way, and the better way is that let people express their grievances. Because all of us have had occasion to express grievances. And when we were prevented, or when we were molested, or maltreated, we didn't like it. So when we are in power, we must set the example. The way things are going, I'm afraid, if it continues like this, then what you and I don't want is where we are going. You see what I mean?
I get it. Kenneth, please hang in there. I'll come back to you. I'll need you to listen into the other resource persons who are going to be sharing their perspective on this matter. Let me welcome Professor Michael Kpesa-White. He is a lecturer in history and political science with the University of Ghana, Legon. He is very passionate about democracy and democratic governance. And so I think that he's more than well placed to comment on this matter. Sir, thank you very much for joining us. I don't know if you have anything to say concerning what Kenneth has said and your general perspectives that you want to share about how this whole event has turned out.
Well, thank you very much, and let me say good morning to all your viewers across the country. It's very unfortunate that we've taken these many steps back after several years of what many have thought has been a progress in our democratic journey. I think that we need to get a proper understanding of what democracy is all about and what democracy is intended to achieve. There is a certain flawed thinking in this country that democracy is about elections only, elections and elections only. And I think that in between elections are many mechanisms that citizens can deploy as far as extracting accountability and expressing their displeasure about the processes of governance are concerned. And protest is one of them. I mean, democracy without any form of protest is a danger unto itself, because people will have pent-up feelings and in very covert manner try very hard to kind of mobilize and get the system to cave in so that they can have some breathing space. We are lucky we have a system where people willingly provide notice that, look, we are unhappy with one or two things happening in the country and we intend to go on the streets to express our displeasure. Look, all the established democracies that we seem to be copying, for lack of a better word, or imitating, have systems that allow people to, demonstrate freely. Go to Washington, D.C., right? Around the White House, there are daily demonstrations. Literally, people go there to demonstrate. And the system has made it possible, in fact, had designated a place where people can actually go and demonstrate. There are people who go there on a daily basis. There are all kinds of edifices and all kinds of stuff there. And the police are there to welcome people to demonstrate. I mean, what kind of democracy is this that we go around begging people to vote for us, and then after they voted for us, they pay us with their tax money, and after they've paid us with their tax money, when they express their displeasure, we beat them up. This is worse than colonialism. This is the worst form of, democracy that one can see. And it is particularly surprising that this is happening under Nana Akufo-Addo, somebody who has spent the last 45, perhaps, years touting himself as a human rights lawyer, as a Democrat, as somebody who fought for democracy in this country, somebody who is often cited as participating in the Komi Prekon demonstrations, supposedly arguing against or fighting against the imposition of VAT in this country, I believe in 1995. And then several years down the line, you have the opportunity to govern this country, and we see this kind of impunity. But what it tells us clearly is that you cannot successfully hold power in a democracy as a leader and succeed if you don't have democratic temperament. Democratic temperament requires you to think above the ordinary, to be very tolerant, to be patient, to be very cool-headed, and also to be able to put yourself in the position of people who are making demands on the system. And that, for me, is what has been lacking in this particular contest. I don't think that what happened on the 21st of September should just be left to wash itself away through our public conversations, media discussions, and then that's it. I think we must move the next step forward, and that is what is required in a democracy. I will want to see some kind of, if you like, an internal police inquiry that establishes the circumstances under which innocent civilians who basically want to congregate and express their displeasure have been beaten up, arrested, and tortured, and thrown into different kinds of cells across the police stations in the capital. So I want to see some kind of a police inquiry. And beyond that, I think that those individuals and the country at large deserve some form of apology from the police, the national security establishment, and the government for allowing themselves to be used as tools to abuse, if you like, or to cause physical pain, harm, and violence and fear to, other citizens. And this is important because today it is Kofi and Amma who are being beaten up. Tomorrow, it could be you and I. And for me, as somebody who works in the university, I'm particularly concerned because what we have seen is not only an attack on individuals, it's an attack on freedoms. And our work in the universities and the research institutions across this country thrives on freedom, thrives on academic freedom as well. And one element of freedom is under attack. It means that all the elements of freedom are also threatened. And so I don't think we should just talk it away and wish it away quickly. We should move beyond that, have some kind of a police internal inquiry. We will grant them that. Notwithstanding the possibilities of partiality or impartiality, we will grant them that. They should have a police inquiry and fish out the people in the chain of command who issued the instructions for the demonstrators to be beaten up and arrested and then thrown into cells. And then also we will, as a matter of principle, the police inquiry needs to purge itself of this horrible culture by at least issuing some kind of public apology to the generality of the Ghanaian populace. And then the third level of what I would suggest we should demand from the government and the police service is that all individuals, the 50-something individuals who have been abused, deserve compensation. They deserve to be compensated appropriately for the violation of their humanity. Unless and until this is done, and done with the sincerest approach possible, the likelihood that this will happen again is glaring. And I think also that I agree fully with the comments made earlier by Colonel Abuaji in respect of the conduct of our judicial system in respect of some of these things. Judiciaries all over the world are expected to stand as the impartial arbiters in matters of conflict. And there is a sense in which some elements within our judicial system have positioned themselves to frustrate the ability of citizens and other political parties to freely exercise that which is their constitutional right. And a clear example is what is happening with the limited registration exercise now, where the NDC rightly felt that the approach being used by the Electoral Commission goes against common sense. And it goes really against common sense if you go on the ground and see what is happening. And I'll give you a typical example. If you go into Shao Sudoku, which is my constituency, for instance, the geographical layout of the place is such that the district capital is at the tip of the constituency. So Dodowa, which is the district capital, is at the tip. Beyond Dodowa lies the vast arena of communities, villages, and towns that constitute part of that community. And it goes all the way to meet Honorable Ablakwa's constituency around the Aveime Bato enclave. It meets, Sam George's constituency at some point, and then it meets, the constituencies in Yilo and Manya at other areas as well. Clearly, this is a constituency that by land size is vast, and it has not even a single tarred road. Now, in the rainy season, the place is highly unmotorable. Then you have a situation where the Electoral Commission had asked that people who are turning 18 should travel to this constituency headquarters or the Electoral Commission's district office to register.
Yeah.
These are things people are unhappy about. And if they want to express their displeasure, they should not in any way, be prevented. And I think that the only option available to Ghanaians now is to take stock of all these things. The error has been committed already by voting this group of clueless, reckless, and mindless individuals in power. We need to use the same process to get them out as soon as possible. It is painful to endure till December 7th, but we have endured most part of it already. And we should deploy all the mechanisms that are available in the intervening years of elections to contain and perhaps push back. And to do that will mean that we should not allow the beatings and the arrests and the harassments that occurred over the last couple of days to deter us at all. I think we should rather be spurred on to move on to the streets. The next demonstration that will be called, or that will be organized, must see all of us. And I believe that the one that is being pursued currently by the minority in Parliament in respect of the conduct of the BOG is one that every Ghanaian citizen, irrespective of where you are, must be ready and willing and show up actively to ensure that we take steps to rescue our country from what is clearly a declining state of affairs, both economically and politically.
Interesting. With that particular, with that particular demonstration, the organizers and the police can't seem to agree on the route.
The police have no business.
Similar to what is happening with the Democracy Hub. Similar thing.
The police must position themselves to have constructive dialogue with people who are planning demonstrations. You don't position yourself as though you want to control. And I'm surprised because the Ghana Police Service we have today, in terms of personnel, have some of the very fine, professionals and intellectuals and people who otherwise are decent citizens in it. And one would have thought that they will bring that level of decency and that level of thorough, engagement. But it appears that the idea of being decent and also having monopoly over violence and holding arms and holding weapons around seems to suggest to them that they could decide to put away constructive engagements and essentially beat people as and when it matters. But I think that this is completely an affront to our democracy, and we should not in any way condone, we should not in any way justify, we should not in any way pretend that what has happened should be swept under the carpet. I think we deserve, as a country, public inquiry of some sort, be it internal police public inquiry or a parliamentary inquiry. We deserve a public apology, irrespective of that outcome, because we saw physical abuses occur right in the full glare of everybody on television.
Right.
And then we also deserve some form of compensation to the individuals who have been so abused.
Right. Now, speaking about physical abuse, our own senior journalist here, Bridget Totu, suffered some kind of, you can call it physical abuse, and she's complained about it both publicly and privately. Now, there's another lady who's a social media activist. She's very popular on social media. She's called Dela Goldheart. She's been watching the show, and she says, well, if the police say they don't have any evidence of any being physically assaulted, I am a victim. I want to speak to you. So we're going to be raising her shortly to speak to her about what exactly happened to her and what's the proof that she was actually physically assaulted. So Dela Goldheart will be joining us shortly on Inside Pages. Now, let me also say that those of you who would want to contribute via thoughts to what we're talking about is 0249 155 646. 0249 155 646. The number will be displayed shortly on the screen so that you can send us your thoughts or your viewpoints on what we're talking about. So 0249, as you can see, 155 646. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. I have Mr. Kwabena Sapon here of the New Patriotic Party, Professor Michael White, a senior lecturer at University of Ghana, Legon, but a member of the NDC. He's also here with us. And also Randolph Chumesiankra, he's a private legal practitioner. He's non-partisan. He's in the middle. He says it as it is. And the Kenneth Festus Abuaji is also with us here on Zoom. Now, Mr. Kwabena Sapon, the protesters are saying, that's the Democracy Hub, they're saying that they're doing this for two reasons. They want to put an end to corruption because they've had enough. And also to the worsening economic situation. Those are the two reasons that is giving rise to this demonstration. And also your general thoughts about how you think the whole thing has played out. Right from expression of intent to go on protest, the reaction of the police, and so on and so forth. And as we speak currently, the protesters are protesting at a 37, just around the 37 military hospital. Your general thoughts, and also the theme for the protest.
Well, just like you, we all agree around this table and over there that every citizen of this country has a right to demonstrate in this republic. Nobody, and I repeat, nobody should make any attempt to prevent any of us from demonstrations. Okay? Now, we have seen in this country that whenever we go on demonstrations, we had problems. So what I think we should look at is, what is the problem? What we are talking about today, or what happened today? Is it what happened today that we are worried about, or the problem that existed before today? You see, if you limit it only to today, you can never get a solution.
Right.
We must take it as a problem. And if it is a problem, where is the problem? Who is causing the problem? Who's causing the problem? When NDC, MPP is in power, they abuse the police. When NDC is in opposition, MPP is in opposition, they abuse the police. They blame the police. When NDC is in opposition, they blame the police. All right? So if that is the case, who is causing the problem?
It means we have a fundamental problem.
We have a fundamental problem. That is what I want us to address our attention to. That our democracy is under threat, rule of law, and it's neither here or there. None of them is true. There's no democracy under threat in this case. The rule of law is not under threat in this case. Because people have gone the demonstrations, they have been beaten, which all of us said that it is bad, it shouldn't happen. And it has happened today. So you are saying that democracy is under threat? Hell no. You are saying that because you think this is the first time it has happened. And you are not addressing the problem. My position is, if we know it happened when you were in government, and it happened when you were in opposition, then it means there is a problem and we must find who is the problem. Is it the law? What law, no, my friend say?
The Public Order Act.
Is that the Public Order Act? Is it the government in office? Or is it the security of, in this case, the police? Okay? One of them, a combination of these things, will be the problem. And we must address it. Governments will come and go, so we can take the governments out. Take the governments out. Because if I say that NDC government influenced it, it happened, Pesha White will never accept it. If he says that NDC, MPP did it, I will never accept it. Is that not so?
Yeah.
So take the parties out. What is left? Two, the law and the police. The law and the police. And this is what we must address our attention to. If we do that, I believe we will be able to get the police to act properly when there is a demonstration. To act properly. If all of us come in and say, look, the law that you are using, the Public Order Act that you are using, does not give you the right to stop demonstrations. That is what we must address our attention to. Forget about all these innuendos, the people who have been beaten, and all those with they need an inquiry. It happens all the time. We get beat. If I were there, I'll be sorry. I'll feel very bad. And I'll get angry. Maybe I'll go there and cause some damage somewhere else. I'm not saying that I support the police beating those people. Please don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. The police has no business beating anybody. The IGP is saying that if there's anybody who has evidence, bring it. Let those who have the evidence take the evidence to the IGP and let's see what the IGP will do.
Mr. Kwabena Sapon, how do you respond to those who say that, look, in every democratic dispensation, you want to be seen as a country to be making progress? It's not a race to the bottom. So that let's even assume that some things were done in the past which you didn't like. Why are we repeating them today?
That is what I'm saying, because we have not found the cause of the problem.
Okay, so you think there's a root cause?
Yes.
And until we deal with the root cause,
Until we do with the root cause,
it will recur
it will recur.
in the future.
Did you hear the submission? Turning out to the government is improper in those that. So you're making it look like it's the government. No. Why should it happen under Nana Akufo-Addo's administration?
We've heard people ask that.
Yes.
Human
Why
rights
should it
lawyer,
happen?
we saw
Has
him
it not happened
participate,
since
coming
1992
back
up to
home.
today? Nana Akufo-Addo, this government, have we not had demonstrations? Have we not had demonstrations? So I am saying that let's direct our attention to the cause. And once the lawyer is here, I may probably sit and let the lawyer explain to the question that I'm going to ask.
Great.
The question that the police have been doing or using and acting on it is when they submit an application to the court for an injunction, they believe that once they serve the application on Dr. Pesa White or on Kwabena Sapon, Kwabena Sapon should stop the demonstration that they want to do.
Right.
Then the Electoral Commission should have stopped the limited registration.
That is what I'm saying.
Well,
once you
by
serve
extension of logic, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Once you serve the Electoral Commission, Electoral Commission should stop what he's doing. My question is, if that is the law, then what is the basis for interim injunction ex parte?
All right. I like this rhetorical question you're asking.
What is the basis for interim ex parte injunction?
All right. Okay.
So I will stop because I have not finished.
Right.
I will stop my dispensation.
I like
and then
that.
let the lawyer
Take it from there.
to us why lawyers do this.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So if it is the law, then me and Pesa White we will understand.
Right. Okay. Now let me do this. Let me speak to Della Goldhart. Della Goldhart, as I said, she's a social media activist, and she was yesterday at of course I saw her on TV. She was at the protest march or the street protest, and she's been watching the show, and she tells us that, look, anybody who says this is not true, that we were physically assaulted, I'm a victim, and so I want to tell my story. Della, good morning. Thank you very much for accepting to join us on Inside Pages.
Good morning, Moro. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So Della, tell us, what happened to you?
So we were standing at 37 Trotro station. We had started gathering, and before we realized, a big police bus arrived with a lot of policemen, and then they started forcing us into the buses very violently. And we later agreed to go with them. They didn't tell us why they were arresting us and why they were taking us. So they took us to the Accra Regional Police Station. And first, we got out of the bus. We were on the compound singing. They didn't touch us. We only saw men arriving. And some of us have videos to this effect. And after the men arrived, and then they went to the back of the building that we were standing in front of, they asked us to follow and then go into the room one by one. And when you are going into the room, you have to submit your phone. So for me, I didn't know what was happening in the room. I thought we were going to have a conversation. It was when I gave my phone to the person taking the phone and entered that I realized they were beating the guys in the room. And a policeman, the people beating us were not in uniform, and they looked really strange. Some of them had earrings, they had colored their hair. They were not in uniform. So me personally, the gentleman, two of them who beat me up, they were holding something that looks like when you finish using a tissue, what is in the middle? The thing looks like paper. But when they hit you with it, it feels like the most painful thing ever. So that was what they used to beat me up. And for the guys, it was blow to blow right in front of us. And they had taken our phones. So there's no way to record them. You see what was happening. So when I read a police statement saying they didn't beat anyone who have evidence should come out. I personally, when I wrote my statement after the charges were laid, I stated in my statement that I was beaten while in the cell. My arms were so swollen, and then I don't know how to put it, like blood will be behind your skin, but you didn't get a cut, so it doesn't come out. And I had asked my lawyers to ask them to give me medical attention. There was no medical attention. Superior police officers arrived, and the only thing you hear them telling the officers at the stations where they had put us was that order from above, don't let them see anyone, no visitors, nothing. So why is the police saying that we were not beaten when they knew very well that they had taken our phones, took us into a room to purely beat us up? And today, if you see my body right now, I have pains all over my chest area. I'm a bit light skinned, so you can still see the dark patches from the beating at my back, my arms, my elbow area, and my buttocks. So why is the police saying we were not beaten up?
So the police has called or has requested persons who suffered your kind of fate to come to them and report it as it is. Would you go to the police? And first of all, have you been to the hospital to get a medical report?
I have gotten some medicine, including hot creams. But today, I see that the pain around my chest area is worse. So I'll be going to the hospital this morning.
Okay.
I have another gentleman who the whole of yesterday couldn't get up because his waist, I don't know what happened. About 6 officers had gathered around him, beating him up. And I know this gentleman personally. So the whole of yesterday, he wasn't able to get up. And today we will be taking him to the hospital. If I'm being sincere, I don't have so much hope in the police force anymore because seeing what they did to us, I was expecting something like maybe hot water or something. But the level at which they took this thing, we were just standing peacefully protesting. What danger were we presenting? We were not even close to the Jubilee House or anything. We hadn't started walking. And then they said order from above, and they decided to treat us anyhow. Can I sincerely say this morning that I believe that if I write a statement, forward my case to the IGP, it is going to be taken seriously? Because all the time I was in custody, I kept asking, can I know the name of the officer who beat me up? Because one of them particularly targeted me. With the women, we were very few. We were just 3 of us. And I don't know why he targeted me. He kept hitting me over and over with this thing, and I still have all these dark patches on my skin. So I needed to know the officer's name. And what they had done was that the officers in uniform, they didn't touch us. They were trying to separate the fight. But the ones that were not in uniform, they were the ones who beat us up. So if I'm even writing a statement today, I have a video to show that this is the officer. Because when they were entering the building, we still had our phones and we had recorded. But other than that, there's no way for me to even tell you this is the person's name. You see what had happened. So I don't have a lot of trust in the police force right now. And to be sincere, I don't have much trust in the courts anymore.
So the
if you don't have, the situation has really gone bad.
Right. So how do you intend to get justice? You don't trust the courts, you don't trust the police. So who do you trust? What do you intend to do?
Well, at least I'm telling through your platform this morning, I'm telling the Ghanaian public about it. They are aware of what happened. Okay. And the least I can do is to share videos and pictures of, evidence to show that this is what happened to us.
Okay.
So if the police is saying that they didn't touch us, it is not true.
I see. Professor Michael Kwesa White is here. One of the things he's suggesting is that there must be some kind of an inquiry, parliamentary inquiry into what has happened. Would you be prepared, for instance, to appear before a committee that has been set up to look into this matter, like we've seen with the leaked IGP tape and, to tell your story? Would you be prepared to do that?
Yes, I'll be happy to. And since I have the evidence to support it, I am not worried. It is important that our police force does not become a group of hoodlums who can just get away with anything. What we saw behind closed doors after they took our phones, it was horrible. And this is a country that we used to be so proud of. Some of us, we go to school or work abroad, and then we are so proud when people say we are from Ghana, the first country in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa to get independence. But today, our country has become something else. Can we still stand on platforms and beat our chest and say we are from Ghana, a country that rule of law works? Can we say the same thing? It is so bad. So for me, I'll be ready any day, anytime to appear before a committee to give my experience.
So can I safely assume or presume that you did not participate in today's protest because of your medical condition?
Yes, yesterday I didn't participate, and the gentleman that was with me didn't go either. Today we will be going to the clinic. I am still strong and walking. It's just the pain in my chest that has gone worse this morning when I woke up. The dark patches, I got some hot creams to be applying, and by the time they freed us around 9 p.m. on the day we were arrested, the swollen arms had some of the police officers, the ones in uniform especially, they were helpful. Like me, they got me an ice block to put on the swollen arms. So by evening with the hot cream, one of the visitors had gotten me the hot cream and painkillers. So by evening it was a bit better. But if I was at your studios right now, you will see all the dark patches and some of the this thing on my arm. So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Della, it's unfortunate. We wish this hadn't happened. It's happened, and I have no reason to doubt what you're saying, because I saw you there and I saw you complaining about how you were being handled or treated by the police. All we can say is that we're sorry for what has happened. It's not what we all expected, but it has happened. And please go to the hospital, get a medical report. You may just need it when the time arises. So get well soon.
Okay. Thank you so much, Moro.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Della Goldhart. She's a social media activist. She was at the protest yesterday, and she was watching us, and she decided to call in to tell us that, what the police is saying about they don't have any evidence of anybody being physically assaulted is not true, and that she's a victim. All right. So, but there's a legal angle to this conversation. I think that we need to bring in a lawyer here, because that's, for me, apart from all the other issues, is the biggest elephant in the room, which is, if I want to go on demonstration, what is my responsibility? What am I supposed to do? What rights do I enjoy? And under what circumstances can the police prohibit me or stop me from going on that demonstration? So that's where the lawyer comes in. And then when I'm done with the lawyer, Kenneth Zabwaji will give us his final take, and then we can move to Cecilia Dapa, or the Dapa Gate and matters rising. No, that's fine. I'll get you to come back. We need a lawyer to come in here.
Answer, because if you see, that is the crux of the matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Police went in with the understanding that it's illegal demonstration.
Yeah.
They are not supposed
in fact, they say unlawful assembly.
Unlawful demonstration.
Yeah, we'll get that. So that's why he's here.
So if we define that and clarify that, then we can make our...
Fantastic. So lawyer, what is it? So the three of us here sitting here, we decided we want to go on protest. What are we supposed to do? What kind of rights do we enjoy based on what the Constitution is saying, and under what circumstances can we be prevented from going on that demonstration?
Thank you, Moro. Now, before I proceed to even answer your questions, let me state that our Constitution, Chapter 5, has been dedicated to the protection of the rights of the citizens against brutalities or infringements by states. So that is the only chapter that actually guarantees you and I our freedoms. And the right to demonstrate is actually contained in Article 21 of the Constitution. It's expressly stated that you have a freedom to participate in demonstrations. And we also have to bear in mind that demonstration is an expression of dissent. I mean, not necessarily writing, not all of us can write. Some of us will express our dissent by being on the street, shouting, holding placards, wherever it is.
Or being on social media.
So the point must be made that as a fundamental right, the interference or the limitations placed on it must be ones that are justified and situated within the context of law.
For instance,
if you look at any lawyer, will tell you that the general limitations placed on the exercise of every right in this country is contained in Article 12, public safety, public order, and public interest, among others. But now these are terms that requires pronouncements the determination of what amounts to public interest at every point in time is dependent on the circumstances of each case. Now, if you look at the Public Order Act, the Public Order Act has gone through a bit of historical evolution, and people must know that the Public Order Act, as we have it today, was not so. At a point in time, you needed the permission of the police before you could even embark on a demonstration. But with the amendment pursuant to a case that was filed by MPP in the Supreme Court, challenging certain provisions of the Public Order Act as being an infringement on the freedom of movement, amongst other things, the Supreme Court took the view that those provisions were unconstitutional. Then Parliament quickly amended those provisions and said that you have to notify the police.
I see. It used to be the case.
Yeah, so now what we have is you notify the police. You don't need police permission.
What was it before?
You needed permission of the police.
You needed permission of the police.
But now you just have to notify them.
I'm informing you that I'm going on a demonstration.
Yes. No, when the law says, the Public Order Act, which has become the contention now, is when you notify the police, then if the police, don't forget, it is a right. And before anybody can interfere with the enjoyment of your right, there should be a justification for it.
Okay.
The law says that when the police officer, not below the rank of a superintendent, is notified, and he has reasonable grounds to believe. So it is not just a whimsical application. The police officer seeking to must have a reasonable ground to believe that the special event, which is a demonstration you intend to embark upon, is likely to breach the peace or occasion a breach of the peace, amongst other things.
Well, that's true. I mean,
I
agree. Your microphone was off, so our viewers didn't hear you. Yeah.
If we were in Ghana,
yeah. And the UN program was happening.
Never allowed demonstrations during the United Nations General Assembly.
Yeah.
No way.
Right.
Ghanaian authorities would never allow those demonstrations.
Exactly.
I get it.
But that is a higher security zone than anywhere.
Right.
But so now with that, the new dispensation under the law is that you notify the police. And when you notify the police, and the police has reasonable grounds to believe, the law does not even give the police the power to stop you. At no point in time has the police been given any power under the law to stop demonstrations. They don't have that power, and it has to be made very clear. The law says when you notify the officer, the content of your notification is outlined by the law, the time, the dates, the purpose of the event, and among others. So when you notify them, and the police has reason to believe, as I've already indicated, they will call you, they will have to write back to you. And if they think that there are security implications of maybe some locations or the location of the demonstration, they would ask you to relocate or postpone it. They cannot tell you to stop. And the law goes further to say that when you disagree or you don't want to comply with the directives given by the police, you have to write back to them and notify them that you will not comply or you will comply. And when you fail to comply, that is when the police has the power to now apply to a court for the court to determine whether you should postpone or relocate. Because the court cannot even tell you not to demonstrate, but they can at least control when you can demonstrate.
So I want to go to Jubilee House, but the police can go to court and get the courts to change the destination.
Yes, the police can go to court
to say Independence Square.
Yes, they can. So if the police has not exercised that power, which the law has given them, they don't have no right to come and tell you not to demonstrate, because we must follow the procedures. We must follow procedures. Because I've heard people talk about unlawful assembly. If you look at I think section 201 or so of Act 29, which creates the offense of a lawful assembly. This can never be one. Because the law is very clear. It says that when 2 or 3 or more people gather with the intention to commit a crime, how is demonstration a crime? Because they've already given you the intention that we intend to embark on a special event. And the event is to demonstrate and to express our displeasure about certain happenings within the country. Is that a crime?
Okay.
No. So I don't even see how the offense of unlawful assembly even comes into play in the first place.
Okay.
But that is even a discussion for another day.
Right.
Now, the police, as I've been said, cannot just act whimsically. They are also, this is a law enforcement agency. Law enforcement. So we cannot have a law enforcement agency breaching the laws. The question that we need to ask ourselves is whether the police itself even complied with the provisions of the Public Order Act before purporting to disperse demonstrators. Now, I have this document before me. And from the documents I have, as far back as August 21st, 2023, which is 1 whole month before the date for the intended demonstration, Democracy have notified the police. They gave them 1 month's notice. No, the law says not less than 5 days. Okay. So they actually gave them a whole. I'll come to the September 4th one. So they gave them notice on 21st. And then based on the notice, the police invited them for meetings. And at the said meeting, the police, like I'm saying, indicated or suggested that they change the route or they relocate or postponed. And they wrote back to the police that they are unwilling to do so. And they wrote that letter on the 4th of September. So the 4th September letter was their communication to the police that they were unwilling to do so. So if you have a law enforcement agency, which is not intended or is not about seeking to do mischief with the law, you could have gone to court on the 5th, on the 6th, on the 7th, but police supposedly went to court on the 20th, and just some few hours before the demonstration.
That's on the eve of the demonstration.
How is that? How do you tell me that you're enforcing the law when you are seeking as an officer of the law to abuse the law? Because you had ample time to go to court. You didn't. You waited till the last hour and said that when the people have mobilized or whatever it is that needs to be mobilized, and said that, that is a clear case of abuse of process or mischief. Now, let us even move from there. The police says that, I think, honestly, the police is engaging in a PR gimmick. That's what I believe they are doing. Because on the 20th, the police publicized to the world that they have successfully filed an application to prohibit the demonstrators. Now, when they published this notice, we had the organizers of the demonstration coming out with a publication that very day, I think that evening, the same 20th September, stating that we have not been served with anything. We are not aware. In fact, in paragraph 2, they say we wish to put on record that police service has not served us with any application, and we are unaware of what the application is about. So at the point where the police came to tell us that they have gone to court and then filed the process, and served, the people, the conveners, said they were not aware. Then quickly the police comes back with another press release that they served the process on lawyers. I looked at it and I started laughing. And their reason was that in the course of their discussions with the conveners of Democracy Hub, they wrote to them that they should channel all correspondences through their lawyers. Every lawyer will tell you that discussions prior to going to court, I may decide to use Honorable here as my lawyer for purposes of negotiations. If negotiations break down and we go to court, it's a new step. The law says that is why when you endorse the address of the person you are suing, you have to serve them personally.
When the people wrote to the police, if you want to contact us, write to
our lawyers,
our
Atuguba
lawyers,
and Associates.
Gave the police the address of the name and address of the lawyers. That is still legal.
That was for the purposes of the conversation, correspondence between them and the police at the time.
No,
okay.
He says if you want to contact us, now we are discussing now.
Yes.
We haven't finished whatever we are doing. So we say we are leaving. If you want to contact us, further use our lawyers.
So that's why I was saying that when they gave that contact to the police, it was in respect of a particular set of facts that we are having a conversation, we are having discussions. So for the purposes of this discussion, if you want to reach us, do so through our lawyers.
At that time, there was no court.
There was no court.
There was no court.
No.
Okay.
Once you go to court, it's a
Becomes a
different
whole
terrain.
ball game.
The procedures are different. The law says you serve the person.
But even if you think about it, if someone says, if you want to contact me further, use my lawyers, that doesn't mean the person recluse himself from the issue completely.
In fact, it doesn't mean so.
doesn't
But
at
the
all.
point is, even when you go to legal procedures, the law requires that you serve the person personally.
Absolutely.
So now the question is, the police, per their own press statement, have admitted that they have not served the people personally. And now, I have, as a lawyer, had instances where clients I have represented before, you still have processes of them coming to you. You write as a lawyer and take to the registrar that you are no longer their lawyers. Even though the records will show that you are their lawyer.
Because you are not a party to the litigation.
No, I'm not a party, and I don't know whether the person will engage me.
Intermediary.
There's no,
You're only an intermediary.
there is no there's no, how do you call it, certainty that the person would engage me to represent them in the court.
I agree.
So why do you serve them? Why do you serve a lawyer when I
Okay.
am there? So at the point where the police even released this press statement, it confirms the statement by the demonstrators, the conveners, that they had not been served. They were not aware, and they had not instructed. You see, under the law, if a party wants a lawyer to receive processes on their behalf, you notice what happened with my learned senior Justice Amenuvo writing an undertaking to receive the application for contempt that was supposed to be served on the EC.
Yes.
On behalf of the EC.
Yes.
The law says that if the party wants their lawyer to do that, the lawyer must write an undertaking.
Oh, that you're doing this on behalf of your client.
So there are procedures for that.
I see.
You cannot just get up and say, I'm going to serve Atuba and Associates. How do you know Atuba and Associates are the lawyers for, will be the lawyers for the conveners for that purpose?
So you're saying it is wrong for them to say, okay, so I'm looking for the protesters, I can't find them, so I serve Atuba and Associates.
No.
And it's as good as serving the leadership of the demonstrators.
If you are looking for them and you can't find them, go for subsidiary service.
Okay,
Because there are procedures in the law
I get it.
when it comes to service. And the essence is that you cannot impose a punishment on a person without giving them notice of it.
Right.
So when they say that they were not notified or they were not aware of what your application was about, they were not lying.
True.
So now back to the question you asked. The law is that the service of an application for injunction on you, in some cases, should operate as an injunction. In some cases, that's this notification. When it comes to your notice, you've been served with it. That is where the principles differ. There are some judges who take the view that it is not in all cases. There are some who also take the view that if it is going to undermine the thing for which the court has been called upon to do, then you have to stay your hands off it. So these are the different views that we have within the legal practice. But in the recent Supreme Court decision, they took a different view that once you have notice of it and whatever you're going to do in it, you have to stop. That will only apply when you've had notice of it.
Hold on. If they serve you with the notice
Yes, of it.
or by the Supreme Court decision, you have to stop.
Yes, if they've served you with it, you have to stop. So you have to stop once they've served you with it. But in this case, they have not been served. And they said, we have not been served. You're going to, it's like coming to a meeting in your office with Professor Kwesa White. And then you are looking for me. You don't get me. And you go and serve a document on Dr. Professor Kwesa White for it to be given to me. That is not you giving me a letter.
That's
because
fine.
I have not appointed him, or there's no agreement between the two of us for him to receive it on my behalf.
Okay.
So I don't want to even belabor the point or to even give any credence to the police PR games.
So the police goofed on that score.
No, they goofed big time on this. And I'm surprised that as a law enforcement agency, they don't take their time, or they won't take their time to ensure that they've complied with every letter of the law. Especially when you're seeking to do mischief. Because in my view, and now let's even talk about the how do you call it? The position by the police that people who claim, and for purposes of lending credibility to what I'm about to say, I was at the regional police head office to help some people with getting bail, those who were arrested. I was there personally.
You were there personally?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
I was there personally.
Okay.
So when I hear the police saying that if people who were molested, if anybody has evidence that they were abused, they should come. It doesn't make sense to me. I think that the police is more concerned about its image at this point than performing its duties.
Right.
Because we were there and we saw what we saw with our very own eyes. And some of you were even fortunate to see it on TV, where journalists were whisked away on live TV. And the people that Dela described as not being uniformed, yes, those are the secret force or the special forces that the police have. Some of them are earrings, cornrow, with beards, thick, tall guys, very thick, huge personalities, and therefore
they have
I think
beard.
they have special duties.
They have beard.
Yeah. Oh yes. I mean,
they have earrings.
They are for special duties. I mean, I think it's not. It's common with every country. I don't think it's
Okay,
only
that's fine.
Peculiar to Ghana.
That's fine.
They are for special duties for whatever reason.
Okay.
They are the people who came, and I saw some of them. They were not uniformed. They were wearing jeans, just like how I'm dressed.
Mufti.
Yes, they are not. They don't wear. Those people don't wear uniforms at all. So they are for special duties. So those are the people who whisked away some of the people. And you see, what happened was, when they arrested Oliver and among others, they dispersed them among the police stations. Some were sent to Choco. That's where Dela and Co were. And then some were sent to Kolebu. Some were sent to Ruwe. Some were kept at Accra Central.
Right.
Making the job of the lawyers even difficult, because you have to shuffle between Accra Central, Ruwe. So for me, the police is the first institution that is abusing the law and is acting contrary to its name, law enforcement.
What's wrong with that? I mean, the decision to dispatch them to different police cells.
What was the basis of the arrest in the first place?
You have so the question
But that's another matter.
Yeah, but see, our police cells don't have a lot of space.
There's no space.
For it, so
right.
they
To
can
avoid congestion.
I mean, let's not even try to legitimize the basis of the arrest by even talking about space in our police services.
Right.
Just a minute. I mean, the thing is, wouldn't it have been beautiful for the police to simply police the demonstration peacefully and bring it to a very peaceful end?
We agree.
Rather than going through this horror, horror of a movie. Look, we call the police officers peace officers. What we witnessed on Thursday was basically so-called peace officers waging war on peace-loving Ghanaians. And I think that nobody remains worse at all in condemning it. This idea that it has happened under NDC, it has happened under NPP, and so look, under President Mahama, on the 1st of July, I believe 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry, you know that he doesn't lose his strength.
Sorry,
because
go ahead.
he said, I'll come to you, don't worry.
Yeah.
We probably will have to spend the rest of the time on this matter so that we'll shift to say that apart to next week. Please go ahead.
So the point is, everything that happened there is a clear demonstration or evidence
An abuse of the process.
of abuse of power by the police.
Right.
I recall at a point when we were even trying to talk to some of the senior officers, the mantra they kept repeating to us was, we have an order from above. And I kept asking
That's what
myself,
they usually
yes,
say.
and I kept asking myself, who is this person above? That everybody is telling us they have an order from above. So I said, one, you didn't even arrest the people in the commission of a crime. They were not committing a crime for you to have arrested them at the time when you arrested them. You arrested them for unlawful assembly. As to whether that is even the case, we don't even know.
And the breach of the Public Order
And
Act.
no,
They are if you read the statement, they say...
You see, if the police says that the Public Order Act, the offenses that it creates there,
Yes.
are listed there. It says that if you fail to comply
Yes.
with any of the provisions under the Public Order Act, the Public Order is just 11 provisions.
Right.
It's just 11 sections also.
Right.
It's just 11 or 12 sections, that's all.
Okay.
And the offense creating ones, it's only section 1 to, I think 4, that deals with special events. The red deals with curfews.
Okay.
So people tend to forget that it's the same act that deals with curfews and other things.
True.
So the provisions that deals with demonstrations or special events is just about 4.
Okay.
And it talks about notification. So if you fail to notify, or if the court has given an order and you fail to comply, that's when it becomes illegal. In any case, assuming that the police had indeed filed the process in court, assuming that they had filed,
serve them.
And serve them, assuming they had filed
And they couldn't do that.
and they couldn't do the demonstration. And even assuming that they had done it, assuming that they filed and served them and they went about to do it, the offense that would have been committed in there,
The misdemeanor.
no, would be contempt of court, because you have violated the administration, you have impugned the administration of justice.
I get it.
Not necessarily committed an offense, because you see, we bundle around this unlawful assembly as though it is a strict liability offense. You, but police officer, must show that if myself, you, and then Honorable here and Prof have gathered at a place, for you to say it is unlawful, you must show that we gathered with the intention to commit a crime.
Okay.
So it's not just something that you put out there and then we run with it.
Let me go to Kenel Festus Abuaji. He's been listening in with rapt attention. Kenel, thank you very much for hanging in there. The fact that you've taken time off your very busy schedule to join us and listening to the perspectives that have been shared. What are your concluding remarks? But before you come in, Kenel, are you there, sir?
I'm still here.
Fantastic. Now, before you come in,
that I should be here, so I'm here.
I'm so happy that you patiently waited for us. But before you come in with your concluding remarks, there's another angle to this whole matter, and I would want you to please pay attention to this. Now, Oliver Bakavoma, who's the leader of the Democracy Hub, makes some very damning allegations against the National Security Ministry. I want you to listen to him. And I will read to you what the National Security Minister's response to what he said and what you think we should do with this information, whether we should discard it or you think that it needs some further probing. It's extremely important to us. I want you to listen to Oliver Bakavoma. Right? Let's watch him.
Slaps and other things. The one I am taking particular offense is that all of us were taken to the Greater Accra Regional Command, put into a room, and 17 individuals, plainclothes individuals who were wearing all kinds of earrings, who had dyed their hair in all kinds of different manners. Others dressed in shorts and boxer shorts were thrown into the room and locked on us, and they proceeded to beat us. I do not understand how these individuals who were calling themselves intelligence officers were brought in to beat us. That has to be explained to me. So all the PR and all the crying before committees of parliament, that PR that sustained the police service, we must break that PR down. And for me, this is one of the things I have to say. The Ghana Police Service is less than 40,000 men across board. And these 40,000 people go to training. We train them at public expense. If we cannot ensure discipline with 40,000 people, we have failed the entire country. Ken Dapao, who is Minister of National Security, has made it clear to me that over his dead body we're going to be allowed to protest. And it's not surprising to me that a few months later I was charged and I'm being tried for treason. I think that this government has every intention, and they mean their words, that they are going to depress and going to make sure that they make an example out of me. But we're going to continue to fight. And whatever they want to do, they can continue to do it. But we must show up. Because when abuse of power is loudest, citizens must speak up even more. That's why we are here. They went as far as offering us $1 million. They offered us a committee, to set up a committee and appoint us to government positions in order to stop this activism. This was made directly to me and other leaders of Fix the Country. This will be refused. Now, this conversation was had at the time with the National Minister of National Security, the Minister of Finance, and a Brigadier General of the Ghana Armed Forces at a safe house at cantonment. These are information that are verifiable. We recorded that conversation, that we know that they have taken every kind of attempt through monetary compulsions, through violence, in order to stop what we are doing. But we will continue to build. And we are demanding that if citizens really cherish this democracy and are interested in the future of this country, then they will show up and stare down power.
Now, this is the allegation that Oliver Bakavoma has made against the National Security Ministry. Now, let's read to you the response by the National Security Ministry on these allegations, that damning allegations that Oliver Bakavoma has made. Now, it says the ministry has taken notice. So, Ministry of National Security, Republic of Ghana, PO Box 16, blah, blah, blah. This ministry has taken notice of allegations made in a viral post by Oliver Bakavoma, convener of the Fix the Country movement, regarding a purported offer of $1 million made to him by the Minister for National Security to compel him to cease his activism. While it is acknowledged that the Ministers for National Security and Finance and other relevant stakeholders in 2021 engaged the conveners of the Fix the Country movement to listen to their concerns, it must be stated emphatically that no offer of money or appointment was made to persuade the group to end its activism. Now, the allegations made by Oliver Bakavoma are thus false, unfounded, and a calculated attempt to hoodwink Ghanaians. The ministry therefore challenges him to produce the alleged recording of the said inducement. Meanwhile, the general public is urged to ignore the allegations and treat it with the utmost contempt that it deserves. Now, Kenneth, this is the response by the Ministry of National Security. But then, interestingly, Oliver then tweets. Very interestingly. Are you there, sir?
I'm still here.
Right. Oliver then tweets. He didn't tweet, actually. He went on his social media wall, and this is what he said. He said, Is there a media house willing to authenticate Kandapa's voice? And he's talking about the recording, the secret tape recording he did, and commit to release an audio fully into the public domain. And that's what he has put out there on his social media page. What do you have to say about this? Whilst you even give us your concluding remarks, it's like your quick thoughts. What should we do with this information?
Well, first of all, the mere fact that the ministry, which is the government, found it expedient, necessary to respond, suggests that it's a very serious matter. So the government cannot, in that paragraph, say that we, the public, must ignore or disregard and treat with contempt or the contempt that it deserves. It's part of our democratic dialogue. Granted that governments and authorities may use such inducements in order to manage, behavior or attempts by certain individuals that may cast them in bad light. That's fine. But it's not a case of they said and we said. So we need to come to the truth. And I would encourage the learned Vomao to put out that recording in the public domain for the ministry to come and comment or make a statement on it. But you see, the other side of this debate is that the government was trying to suppress voices, which the lawyers have said is a constitutional right, civil, political, whatever rights that all of us have. So when you induce and you don't succeed, leave us to go about our normal business of activism. There's nothing wrong with activism. It helps in consolidating the democratic process. So I've heard Vomao, and then yesterday I heard this statement. I didn't see the written statement, but I heard it. I would wish that we pursue the case further. You see what I mean? To judge as to who is telling the truth. Because in matters of this nature, the truth matters. That is all that I can say about this state. But it's quite serious.
Okay.
And I don't think it should be swept under the carpet. We need to get to the bottom of it. Now, I have a few comments on what we're discussing and some of the comments that my colleagues in the studio have made.
We're sorry about that. We're having some network challenges. We'll fix that quickly and get Kennel to conclude his comment on this subject matter. But whilst at it, let me just read it. I have tons of messages that I have to look at. It says, okay, so I'm told we have a break. We'll take that break. When we come back, Kennel's line has been fixed. We'll get his concluding remarks. I read messages and take my concluding remarks from my resource person. So we'll take a break. All right, welcome back to Inside Pages on Metro Television. We're talking about the protest that happened in Accra where some persons were arrested and detained and later released. We're having a conversation about it here on Inside Pages. Let me go back to our Zoom link and conclude with Kennel Festus Abwaji. Kennel, good to have you back, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. The network dropped.
Yes, it did.
Now, let me start with the incident on the 21st, which you have discussed at length in the studio. This is a gross violation of human rights by a state. So contrary to what Mr. Sapon, if he's a learned counselor, so he's saying, it is not the police. The police is an instrument, a coercive instrument of the state. And the only reason why we have the government superintending over the police through the police council headed by the vice president is so that the government will hold the police accountable. The police is not an authority unto itself. So the government needs to take responsibility for what has happened. and not the other way around, that the police probably are acting ultra virus or something like that, taking the law into their own hands. And you see, violations of human rights are at the bottom of many of the instabilities within the continent, especially within this sub-region. The Liberian Civil War, Sierra Leonean Civil War, the Ivorian Civil War, you can name them. So we should not think that this is something that we should just gloss over and allow certain elements within the police to behave the way that they want. As you said, or as the lawyer said, let's assume without admitting that the demonstrators, protesters, had even committed a gross violation of the Public Order Act. They did warrant the secretive beatings that took place under the eyes or noses of the police. Well, it was the police, according to that narrative, which allowed those men inside, behind the police station, to go and beat them up. So the public is taking note. And sometimes I wonder whether these people think that the society doesn't know them. The society knows them. You see what I mean? The danger is that we keep going in this cycle, Atiwa, and this and that, Ejura, Ayawaso, and everyone comes, and as Mr. Sapon is saying, they want to now retaliate. That tit-for-tat type of politics is not going to help. We need people with good conscience to draw a line when they are in power and say that let's forgive and let's forget everything that happened. Now, let us now work within the Constitution to consolidate, the democracy that we have all subscribed to. The other thing is that it's very disingenuous of the police to always suggest that they don't have the evidence of perpetrators of human rights violations or assault or whatever it is, let's say civil cases. During the voter registration, during the elections, till today, the police say that they cannot find those who did the shooting, the killings of the 8 or so Ghanaians. You remember the same time that we were going through 2020, the US 2021, January, the US was having its own form of insurrection. As we speak, more than 900 American citizens or otherwise have been arrested, and a number of them have been prosecuted. Now, how did the FBI and other police, associations go about doing this? They use video evidence. They called on the public to share any evidence, video, audio, paper, whatever it is that they might have. And the police knows these tools. So this is where the state comes in. That somebody, the person they said, instructions from above, there's somebody up there who is trying to use the police to orchestrate, some of these behaviors. Otherwise, I don't see how, like this woman or some other persons, have got the video evidence. If you ask for them, they'll submit it to you. You identify the police officers who are involved, and then you address them. I think the earlier that we started doing this, the better, for us. Now, this rogue police elements, in a democratic society, I've been invited to give a lecture in about a month's time, terror or violence and democracy. They are all bedfellows. Democracy does not countenance and should not countenance violence in any form. So even if you have a police service and somehow you have succeeded in creating this secretive rogue element that you use to do mafia tactics, what you're doing is that you're undermining democracy. And I always dispute it. That it's not the police, it's the government. Because look, the government cannot tell us that national security is not aware of the existence of this element. And the behavior, even if they exist, assuming that they exist, but they are not going about doing any wrong thing, that's fine. But they are aware of what it is that this group is doing. And I would say that in other jurisdictions where they have plainclothes policemen and other investigators, it is just to blend. Like these motorbike associations and so on. get into the cabal or the group and gather intelligence.
Okay.
That is the only reason why they wear the earrings and dress like that. But they are not there to go and violate the human rights of American citizens, or for that matter, UK citizens.
Okay.
So we don't need that element.
Okay.
You see, we don't need that element. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Kenel.
Yes, we don't need that, element.
Okay.
My next point is that we need civil society to play a very critical role.
Yeah, if you can do this briefly, sir, because of time.
Civil society must come in.
Right.
The churches. And I'm not very happy when National Peace Council comes in. A National Peace Council is appealing to the citizens, not the authorities. Look, nobody can convince us that our economy has not been mismanaged. It was not mismanaged by us, the individuals. It was mismanaged by those that were entrusted with the authority to manage the economy.
Okay.
So call on the government also to do the right thing. Don't call on peaceful demonstrators not to demonstrate. You don't build a democracy like that.
All right.
And my last point will be the tit for tat that I mentioned. The earlier we stop this tit for tat politics, the better.
Okay.
That so-called recalling past events and point scoring, and we don't need that.
All right.
If anybody who says that will be a stupid person.
Okay.
That you go back and say you did this and therefore I'll do that.
All right.
And meanwhile, we all go to church, we all go to the mosque, and we are told to forgive. Okay. So why do you come to power? And instead of building a society that is based on peace and trust, you come and then you want to retaliate and take vengeance.
All right. Kenel, thank you so very much. I think your submission on the show has been top notch. Thank you. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you, too.
Thank you so very much. Now, let me read some messages quickly, and then I'll take concluding remarks from my resource persons. Now, Hassan Ayariga has been watching us, the founder of the APC political organization. So, good morning, Mr. Moro. I think Oliver should have received the money and exhibit it as evidence to Ghanaians or the courts for everyone to believe him. In fact, I think we should be careful in our dealings with each other, whether as an individual or institution. Power and authority are transient. He adds that. And this one here is, good morning, Mr. Moro. Our democracy is being threatened with the behavior of the police. The IGP should apologize to the good people of Ghana. That's from Alhaji Haruna from Ashaiman. And this one's a good one, Miss. Please, this message is coming from Johnson from Kwabinya. I'm surprised Kwesa White is today blaming the police for assault. Please, the learned lecture blamed the same police when Atingabiu led police to beat demonstrators during the NDC's regime. Someone lost his eye, and Ochedakon had his head stabbed with blood oozing for hours, and so on. And this one from Mustafa says, please thank the lawyer for me. I believe his analysis has enlightened discerning minds. I think that's what you want to write. On the rule of law or on demonstration in Ghana, the lawyer should be allowed to flow. Thank you very much to the panelists. Please ask the president for me, where is our money? We are hungry. Please bring our money back. We voted for you to protect our money. Mr. President, where is our money? Philip from Achimota. Good morning, Mr. Host. Anybody in Ghana, irrespective of his or her political affiliation, should still believe that the Akufo-Addo government will break the 8. Needs to be enrolled at the nearest psychiatric hospital for attention. Ghana is now gone beyond Banana State. By Ima from Sola, Tuna, Kalba district. And finally, the governing body is using the police and the courts to destroy our democracy. But the more they brutalize us, the more determined we should become to set Ghana free from these enemies. I'm surprised the NPP old man fails to condemn all the human rights abuses under Akufo-Addo and the SNPP administration. This is not an honest man. Emmanuel from Adenta, he's not an old man. He's a very young man. He's only in his perhaps late 50s or early 60s. So he's not an old man. Anyway, so concluding remarks, because we have just we have 8 minutes, so we can do 4 minutes each or 3 minutes each, so that we can. In a nutshell, where do we go from here, Prof?
Like I said earlier on, I don't think that we should basically sweep this
under the carpet,
or basically treat it as something that we can have conversations about and then end it over there like we normally do in this country. There must be. And now listening again to Oliver Vomawo and the allegations he's making, perhaps we should even elevate this matter beyond police internal inquiry to a parliamentary inquiry of some sort, just like it's happening in the Bugrinabu tape, because these are very serious and damning allegations that national security, a state institution, allegedly trying to pay money, obviously taxpayers' money, to people so that they could stop agitation and create a facade of everything is normal in this country.
Let's assume it is even true. Would that be an unusual practice?
Well, I mean, I will find it very unusual. Why? Look. we create this wrong impression in this country that national security must be allowed to kind of do anything at all and get away with if it means even corrupting individuals. Why? Why should national security do that and other state institutions expect? Why do we create a certain space within government and expect high levels of immorality and unethical behavior to be the norm in those spaces and expect that things will go very well? So clearly, even if it is true, it is not the right thing to do. The best I believe the National Security Minister should have done was to have engaged them, understand their reasoning, give them some assurances of how those issues are going to be addressed so that together they can actually work to ensure that the conditions, the economic conditions that they are complaining about are worked on. Now, coming back to the Lagoldhart's comments and listening to her closely now, I think that we must be careful how we assume that those plain uniform individuals wearing earrings and on dreadlocks and all kinds of stuff are actually part of the police. They may just be part of these MPP vigilantes that have been integrated into the police force, and the regular police force appears to be looking on helplessly as they receive their order from their national security minister to basically do. We've seen it in Ayawaso, so it's not impossible to see it happen as we have seen. But let me make this final point. Look, I agree with Colonel Festus Abwaji that, look, this equalization politics, excuse my language, is nonsensical. We must stop it. People change governments because they expect better. People don't change governments because they expect that the worst form of situation must be repeated on them. But in the case of, these demonstrations, like I indicated, I alluded to earlier, 1st of July 2015, I believe, there was a demonstration called Occupy Flagstaff House, in this country, right?
Yeah.
I was working in government at the time. People who demonstrated had a free opportunity to demonstrate. They were properly policed by the police. And you know what? They were allowed to come into the Flagstaff House, not even at the gate, to come all the way to the entrance of the main building and submit their petition to the government. I was there, I was present there, and I saw it with my own eye. Some of the individuals who participated in that demonstration are today holding very high, positions and portfolios in this country, including the Minister of Finance and several others who are serving on boards and institutions in the country. If at the time they were treated with this human approach, and they were treated with this respect and dignity, and ultimately Ghanaians changed government, isn't it an opportunity for this government to have even done better by allowing the demonstrators to basically go about their demonstrations? Finally, let me make, finally. Look, I made a point about democratic temperaments earlier. We need to be careful. The government cannot be blamed, cannot be absolved from blame as far as this issue is concerned. If the government had demonstrated prior to the demonstrations that it is willing to receive petition or to receive demonstrators or to address them, I am sure that whoever commands the police to use force would know automatically that the government in power does not even support this. But once the government itself seems to have been infected with a culture of violence, which we have witnessed over and over and over, it is easy for other institutions of state who are working under the same government to basically take violence as a normal culture. And that is precisely what we saw on the 21st.
See, when you reduce it to party politics, that is what I say, you never get a solution. Okay? We had people beating and then let my vote count. The police beat them. We have people beating so many demonstrations. But I'm not sitting down here to support what the police did. I said it is wrong. The police cannot do that. But we must find why those things are happening. NDC time it happens. MPP times it happens. Is it not true? Dr. Pamsa, why? Is it not true? Does it not happen in NDC time and it's happening now? So is it wrong? Look, we remember the past to correct mistakes and not to collect grievances. So if you don't want to remember the past, you can never correct your mistakes. We will repeat the same mistakes, and when we are sitting on the seat, it is okay. When we are not sitting on the seat, it's bad. We can use all the kinds of words we like to describe events. This is what I'm trying to say. Let us calm down. This lawyer has explained that the police was wrong. That is why our attention should go. If the police was wrong, we condemn the police. Let us condemn the police. What they did is wrong, because they had no business saying that is even an illegal strike, this demonstrations. Because they went there with the assumption that it is illegal. And if it is legal, we've got to stop you. All right? But now the lawyer has explained to us that no, the police action was wrong, and therefore the demonstration could not be an illegal demonstration. And if it's not an illegal demonstration, you make the rules easy for them to operate. Yes. Listen. Occupy Ghana. They had a couple of demonstrations. Person White is talking. The actress and actresses had demonstration, and they were beaten. They were called prostitutes. Was that done by the government at that time?
Okay.
Was it done by the government at that time?
Right.
And you don't want to listen. You don't want to remember. Excuse me. Hold on.
Take it easy with yourself.
Hold on. Yeah, no, because I don't understand that.
Very
Instead of trying to let us solve the problem, you are using politics.
People change the government because they don't want that
That's
to
right.
happen
That is
again.
what I'm
So when
saying.
it
Let
happens
us
again, we
remember.
must talk about it.
No, let us say
People
that
vote
what
for
we
an
did.
improvement in their situation. They don't vote for what it was that was bad in the past to be
White,
repeated
listen
on
to
them
me,
again.
Sir.
Can you
Let
just
us say that.
You don't have to scream.
No,
You don't have to scream.
Hold on. I'm not angry. That's how I talk. Let us say that what we did previously was bad. So don't let us repeat it this time.
When you are not willing to even say what is happening now is bad, we should go back to the past and say what we have done in the past.
He says he doesn't endorse what has happened. So it means
I've already told you that I don't endorse it. What do you want me to say?